What's where the
Residents.
atmosphere like?
Right, well, as in all walks of life, very different. Lots of, as I was saying before, it's interesting looking back at some of these pictures, because that brings memories back. Sort of Ralph and Harold and people. But great, so I'd say. But as in all, there'd be people that you like more than other people. But overall, I suppose that was one of the things that even though, a lot of people had quite impoverished lives and living on these big wards and things like that, there were so many such really strong sort of characters and people with really good senses of humour and so I mean it was tricky. You could tell one of the things was that the hospital experience had affected people, so one of the things was that, and one of the difficulties that we had was when people moved into their new homes, when I was saying like back in the early 80s they divided the residents of the hospital up into and that was quite a difficult thing to break, so that the people themselves who lived at Middlefield tended to have they saw themselves as on a hierarchy. Do you know what I mean? Either one of the top people, or so, and that sort of carried on a little bit in some of the places when they moved out, and sometimes we had to be quite careful that people didn't sort of lord it over other people, if you see what I mean. But again, I suppose the thing, and I think the thing we realised was that wasn't anything really to do with that person's personality. It was because of the experiences that they'd had in Middlefield.
Did they like it there, and why?
See, that's interesting. I think a lot of people didn't like it there. Yeah, I think some people, if you'd said at the time, would have said that they did like it there. Do you know what I mean? And this is one of the difficult things as a psychological thing. Sometimes when it's like when we're not aware that our life can be better, do you know what I mean? We can think everything's fine. Do you know what I mean? Because we don't know. So I think one of the things about Middlefield is that it was rare that people would get out into the local community and see films or go to anything, sports centres or anything. So some people did, but I think people then didn't, realise the things that they might have been missing. So it wasn't that everybody was unhappy. Do you know what I mean? It was just that you could see people's lives could be much fuller. Do you know what I mean? And that's one of the things, I was saying that I did lots of quality of life assessments, and that showed like these things about everybody having to go to bed at the same time, everybody have to have the same meals, everybody, there were even things, it wasn't, by the time, I said things got better through the 80s, apparently in the early 80s, people didn't even have their own clothes. So the clothes would go off to the laundry and then they would come back and, people would just pick whatever clothes came back. That had changed by 1988, but it wasn't that long before that. Do you know what I mean? And they were saying even if sort of relatives or people bought their own clothes for people, they would still go to the laundry and usually would come back. And do you know what I mean? But it was, I suppose, a lot of people at Middlefield had been there for many, many years. Do you know what I mean? So, and often there were a whole range of reasons why people were there. So, some people, quite a lot of people were there, not for any real reason about learning disabilities. It was because they came from a big family and maybe their mum and dad couldn't cope or manage or couldn't afford to keep them at home. So that was the case for some people. So there was such a reason of number of reasons. But so as I say, there were some people who really didn't like it and couldn't wait to leave. Some people were okay, do you know what I mean? Some people would have said that they liked it. Do you know what I mean? But that's a tricky thing. You know, there were certainly some people who said that they liked it, but then when they moved out, said that they were happier. So we went back and did sort of quality of life studies afterwards, and it was you know, as I'm going back a long time, but it was rare, as I remember, very rare for someone to say that they wished they were back in Middlefield or wanted to be. I can't remember anybody sort of saying that. Do you know what I mean? Because again, it was part of the you know, how we did it. If that we'd have, when people moved out, that there would be reviews, and if things that people weren't happy with, we would really try and sort that out, if you see what I mean. So